Hey there, Amanda with the Happy Homestead. I love Thai food. Let me say that again. I love Thai food. I don't know if it's the spice, if it's the coconut milk sometimes, or just the amazing exotic flavors of like the galangal and the lime and the lemongrass. It just all tastes so good to me. And so last year, I took this book, the all new Ball Book of Canning, and I made this Thai coconut squash soup recipe. Now, if you have this book, it's on page 284. And by the way, this is the picture they put with it. And so why wouldn't you want to make this? Because it looks so good, right? The whole point of this book, which I really like, by the way, is that it has approved safe canning recipes, but then it gives you some follow-up instructions on what you do with your canned items. So you take your canned broth basically, and then you go ahead and make the soup, and you add the coconut milk at the time of serving, and onion and cilantro, etc. So anyway, you're not actually canning this, right? You're canning a broth to then make this. So I did that in August of 2021, and here it is. And I think I have 2 quarts left, and it is delicious, truly delicious. But there are some things I would change. So in this jar, there are onions, there are red bell peppers, as well as some squash. And this was some, I think, butternut squash that we grew in our garden. And so the few jars that I have opened and used to cook with, as you can probably imagine, everything is really soft. The squash especially, it's very mushy. The peppers, all of it. And so while I love this, I'm gonna change this up a bit just to make it even better, right? And maybe a little bit more versatile, and not waste all of this stuff that's in here. And so we're going to be making a chicken stock today, but we're gonna turn it into like a Thai tom yum stock. So tom yum is a very common soup within Thai restaurants, tom yum soup. And it's a chicken stock broth base, and then it is infused with all of these amazing other ingredients. And that is what we're gonna do today. So I've got some of them here on the counter. So we're basically gonna make our chicken stock just like I normally do in the Instant Pot. And if you have not yet done this or learned how to do this, you need to. Click above, and this is the link that'll bring you back to the video where it's just the basic chicken stock, right? So I am actually going to be making this in a more Thai flavor today, and that way I'm not canning all of these other vegetables within this that eventually will probably go to waste because they're mushy. So before I go into some of the other ingredients, what I have here are chicken bones, carcasses, leftover skin, etc. So this past weekend we roasted a chicken, and I just saved everything and put it in the fridge. And then this I had in the freezer. This is chicken backs and wings and bones, etc. So I'm gonna use all of this to make our stock. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just throw all of the chicken remains in the Instant Pot. Now, this is just, I think, one of the best hacks in life with a chicken. The chicken is like the most versatile animal anyone can raise because it gives you so much. And don't ever throw away the bones and the skin and the tendons and the pieces you don't eat. Don't throw it away. All right, so while we have our chicken in, right, I'm gonna stick within the original recipe before I veer from it. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of Redmond real salt, a couple of turns of cracked black pepper. I always add a splash of apple cider vinegar, and the reason is because the apple cider vinegar really helps to extract all of the minerals from the chicken parts. I am also going to be adding some onion and garlic. Actually, I need to chop that up quick. roughly chop 1 onion, about medium. Okay, I have 2 pretty big pieces of garlic here. I'm just gonna crush them and put them in also. Okay, so up until this point, we've kind of stuck with our normal original chicken stock recipe, and this is where we're veering more towards the Thai side. I have the smallest pieces of lemongrass because I did not go buy it. I actually harvested this from our backyard. We've got some lemongrass growing, and I just took out some of the roots and got the tiniest pieces I could. Now, if you're not growing lemongrass, or you prefer not to take some of your lemongrass from your garden, then just go to any grocery store. Usually the larger stores are going to have some lemongrass for you, or some specialty Asian markets, but it's not as uncommon as it was maybe 10 years ago. So I'm just adding a little handful of fresh lemongrass. It really does smell good. I'm just going to break it up a little bit, get some of those good essential oils and flavors out. I also have, so these next 2 items, these are really specific to Thai cooking too. The lemongrass kind of is also, but these are Kaffir lime leaves. This is from a specific tree that the leaves have this amazing lime flavor. I don't have this tree, so these are dried, and I purchased these online. I will link below. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. So I am just going to put a handful of leaves in. Next is galangal root. Now galangal is a relative of ginger. It's very similar to ginger, but slightly different flavor profile. So this is dried galangal root. Also so good. So I'm going to put a handful of that in. Because we're cooking this in the Instant Pot, I'm not worried about the fact that these are both dehydrated, right? They are going to infuse all of their flavor through the pressure cooking process. And last but not least, dried chilies. So you can add fresh chilies if you have that. I always have dried chilies from our garden, and I am going to add 3 of those. Just don't tell anybody I added 3. Hopefully it won't be too spicy. And then we're going to cover this with some filtered water. Okay, you only want to put enough water in to just cover your ingredients. You don't want to oversaturate it. So I put that on the soup broth button for an hour and a half, and it is on high pressure. So it's really going to come up to pressure and then cook for an hour and a half, and then it's really going to extract all the goodness. So while that's in there, I just wanted to show you, right? So here is the dried galangal. Show you what it looks like a little bit closer. It's pretty big, but it's very much supposed to be like a ginger root, but it has just a slight different flavor. It almost smells a little citrusy, florally maybe. Oh, it smells really good though. Okay, and then here's the Kaffir lime leaves. And so I wanted to show this to you too. So it's Kaffir. That's the type of lime leaves this is. And it's the key ingredient of Thai cuisine, and it's one of the most aromatic herbs. So I'm just so glad I even have these on hand because I've never purchased them before. And I think you can probably purchase them fresh from, again, some specialty Asian markets. But because we're just infusing our broth, like I said, from the Instant Pot, the dried works perfectly fine. Oh, I feel like I am in my favorite Thai restaurant. Oh, that smells so good. Okay. So again, link below on where you can get your Kaffir and galangal. I think you can probably get some lemongrass online too, but I would recommend you check locally. And again, with the hot chilies, you can use dehydrated. I wouldn't get hung up on the type of pepper you're using. If it's a Thai chili or a jalapeno, habanero even, right? Just as long as you're okay with that kind of heat, just keep in mind that any kind of hot chili will work. And if you'd rather omit it, then don't even put it in. Okay, so I'm gonna let this come to pressure. I'm gonna let it naturally release because I need to go about my day. But when I come back, I'll strain it, take you along for the ride, and then I am most likely going to pressure can it. And again, if you're not familiar with pressure canning, then link above to this video and I'll show you how to pressure can stock safely. You cannot water bath or steam can broth. I don't know what anyone else is going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you the safe, approved way of doing it. So I only pressure can. If you are not comfortable doing that or don't know how to do that, just not there yet in your journey for home food preservation, that's okay. Just cool it down, leave it on the counter for a couple of hours, let it cool before you put it in the refrigerator because you don't want to have that thermal shock. Put it in the fridge, let it get cold, and then freeze it. And then you'll have it for whenever you need it. Just pull it out of the freezer. And we're back. It has been probably about four or 5 hours since I last saw you and I started the Instant Pot. So clearly our pressure cooking time is done and the release valve is down. So I have my pressure canner, my All-American pressure canner on the stove here, right there, with 8 pint jars inside, just all getting warmed up, right? Because this is very hot. And so you never want to put a very hot liquid or hot contents into a even room temp or cold jar. So I try to have everything similar in temperature so we don't have any breaking and cracking. Let me tell you folks, when I first started canning, and not even pressure canning, but just water bath canning, I had so many jars broken due to thermal shock. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't thinking about it. I was kind of new to canning. I do not make that mistake anymore. So just make sure that when you're canning anything, the temperature of your contents are similar to the temperature of your jar and your water. All right, so I have a large bowl here with a strainer. We're gonna open up the Instant Pot and we're gonna strain out all of the solids from our Tom Yum soup base. I can smell everything and it smells so good. Even the little bit of lemongrass I had, I can smell it. Okay, this is, again, so hot. So while my jars are warming up, I'm just gonna leave this here for a little bit until I'm ready to start putting them in my jars. Again, you can freeze this as is and it will be perfectly fine. So when I'm ready to use my Tom Yum soup base, whether it be from a canned, pressure canned jar or even from a frozen jar that I had thawed, I will then add my protein, I'll add some noodles, I'll probably then add some bell peppers, onions, fresh onions, cilantro, I'll add some fresh lime juice. That would be amazing too. You'll notice I did not add any lime juice in here just because when you heat it through and you can it up, sometimes it just doesn't have that same pizzazz, right, as it is fresh. So this is just our base, and then we can use this to make ramen, Tom Yum soup, a red curry, anything, right, within that Thai family. And then we add all those special, like, fresh flavors right then and there. I am using the 4 jars canning lids. I found out about this company this year at the Tennessee Homesteaders of America conference. And I was so impressed by hearing them talk and what they do and what their company stands for that I really was excited to give them a try. So this is my third time canning with these lids. And it's my second time pressure canning with these lids. And I have not had a seal fail. I've had no issues, actually. And if you click down below, there is a coupon code for 10% off some 4-jar lids for yourself. And that's it. So I will let these go for 20 minutes. I'll bring it up to pressure, get it to the right poundage for my altitude and whatnot. And it's going to process for 20 minutes for pints, 25 minutes for quarts. Now remember, we changed up the flavor profile of this broth, but we did not change anything that would affect the canning process. So that's the beauty of this. So we can use this as our soup base without it being just a plain old chicken broth. Thanks for joining me on this journey today to have a Thai soup base in the house and in the home pantry, which I cannot wait to share with you how we're going to use it over the next few months. I certainly will do that. Take care. Stay healthy. Stay well. Bye-bye.